In this lesson, you will learn how to identify the subject and the predicate of a sentence. The easiest way to think about the simple subject of a sentence is to think of it as the main character of a sentence. The simple subject tells us who or what the sentence is about. So in the simple sentence, the cat drank milk, we would ask, well, what's this sentence about? Here, the sentence is about the cat. So cat is the simple subject. The simple predicate is the main verb or verb phrase. It tells us what the subject did. Since we know the subject is cat, now we ask, well, what did the cat do? Here, the cat drank. So drank is the simple predicate. The complete subject is the simple subject plus any modifiers of that subject. In other words, it's the simple subject plus adjectives that describe it. So in this sentence, the black and white cat drank milk, we again ask, well, what's the sentence about? It's still about the cat. What more do we know about the cat? We know that it's black and white. So the black and white cat would be the complete subject. To find the complete predicate, we want to start with the simple predicate. Then we want to look for any complements of that predicate, the direct and indirect objects, any modifiers of the predicate, adjectives or rather adverbs that describe the main verb of the sentence. So again, if cat is the subject, we ask, what did the cat do? The cat drank. What completes the meaning of that sentence? Milk from a blue bowl. When we put together the complete subject and the complete predicate, we have a sentence. Every word in a sentence is going to be part of the complete subject or the complete predicate. Here are your 4 steps for identifying the subject and predicate in a sentence. Start by finding the simple subject. Ask who or what the sentence is about. Then you find the complete subject. What other words and phrases describe the simple subject? Then move to the predicate. Start with the simple predicate. What is the subject doing? Then you complete it. Find the complete predicate by finding the other words and phrases that complete the meaning of the sentence and describe the verb. Here's a cool hint. Once you've found the complete subject, everything else is part of the complete predicate. That's one of the reasons I suggest starting with the subject. It's important to note that sometimes part of the predicate can be found in the beginning of a sentence. So if we're going through our process, we start simple subject. What is the sentence about? It's about husband. What other words and phrases describe husband? In this sentence, only my. What does my husband do? He drinks. What does he drink? 3 cups of coffee. Now we have to figure out, well, what does on Monday mornings tell us? Our instinct is often to look at this and say, well, it comes at the beginning of a sentence, it must be part of the subject. But you always have to look at what information the words provide. What does on Monday mornings tell us? Well, on Monday mornings tells us when he drinks the coffee. So it's really an adverb phrase modifying drinks. So since it modifies the verb, the simple predicate, it is part of the complete predicate. Memorize this really important rule. The simple subject is never, ever, ever, ever the object of a preposition. So let's look at 2 sentences to illustrate this. The first sentence, the students raised their hands. This sentence is pretty straightforward. What is the sentence about? The students. What did they do? They raised their hands. If we look at the next sentence, all of the students raised their hands. Yes, the meaning is essentially the same, but the grammatical structure is different. And when we're dealing with grammar, we always have to look at the grammatical structure first. Here, what we want to figure out is, yes, who or what is the sentence about? Our instinct is to say students because it's the first noun that we see. We visualize students raising their hands. But be careful. Look at the structure. Of the students, is really a prepositional phrase, which means the simple subject cannot be students. So what are we left with? If we take of the students out, we're left with all raise their hands, which means all is the simple subject. All is an indefinite pronoun. And really, all is what the sentence is about. It's not the students. What's important here is that it's all students raise their hands. Of the students is really an adjective phrase. It tells us all who. So it's part of the complete subject, but all is the simple subject. The complete predicate stays the same. What did all do? They all raised their hands. It's also important to note that sometimes the predicate can come before the subject. If we look at the sentence, approximately 500 miles from here live my parents, our instinct is to find the first noun, miles, and say that's the subject. But you always have to ask the question, who or what is this sentence about? It's not about the miles. It's about the parents. So parents is the simple subject. What words or phrases describe the parents? Here, just my. What do my parents do? They live. What tells us more about live? Approximately 500 miles from here tells us where they live. So since it describes the verb, the simple predicate, it's part of the complete predicate. When you encounter an interrogative sentence, in other words, a sentence that is phrased as a question, rewrite it as a declarative sentence to find the subject and predicate more easily. For example, in the sentence, did you go to the movies yesterday? You would rewrite this as you did go to the movies yesterday. That makes it much easier to see that you is our simple subject and the complete subject because there are no modifiers of you in this sentence. What did you do? You did go. Well, you did go where? You did go to the movies yesterday. Always remember, linking verbs are also verbs, therefore they also create predicates. However, instead of telling us what the subject did or does, they describe the subject. So if we look at the example sentence, my dog looked tired. What's the sentence about? My dog. Here, though, my dog isn't doing an action. It's being described. Its state of being is what the verb is telling us about. So here, the simple predicate is looked. Looked is a linking verb because it links the predicate adjective tired to dog. Here's a nice hint. It's called a predicate adjective because it's an adjective that is part of the predicate. Not as complicated as it sounds. Remember that helping verbs also are part of the predicate. They help verbs change tenses. They're part of the verb phrase. Therefore, the entire verb phrase is the simple predicate. So if we look at the sentence, Sarah will become a chef at the end of the month. Sarah is our simple and complete subject. What will Sarah do? She will become. Both of those words are the verb phrase. Therefore, will become is the simple predicate. What will Sarah become? A chef at the end of the month. Chef, well, will is the helping verb. Become is the linking verb. It links the predicate nominative chef to the subject of the sentence, Sarah. At the end of the month are two prep phrases that tell us more about when she'll become a chef. Remember that adverbs that come between parts of the verb phrase are not part of the simple predicate, but they are part of the complete predicate. So if we look at another sentence, Sarah had completely underestimated how difficult it would be to get a job as a chef. Sarah is again the simple and complete subject. What does Sarah do? She had underestimated. That's the verb phrase. That's the simple predicate. Completely is an adverb. It tells us to what extent she underestimated. Therefore, it is part of the complete predicate, but it is not part of the simple predicate. So once again, let's go through our steps for identifying the subject and predicate. Go through these 4 steps every time. You first find the simple subject. Who or what is the sentence about? Next, find the complete subject. What other words and phrases describe the subject? Next, we go for the simple predicate. What is the subject doing? And finally, we look for the complete predicate. What other words and phrases complete the meaning of the sentence and describe the verb?